Okay, guys, we are back here one more time. One more episode today with another special and solid person. This is Solid Sports by Solid People with Alex. Hi, Alex, how are you?
Thank you for receiving me. All good.
Okay, Alex have like good stories to share to us, and it's impressive how driven this guy is. So let's talk a little bit about your story. So, uh, just to introduce you a little bit, Alex is a Brazilian um, from the south of Brazil,
Porto Alegre.
Porto,
Yeah.
Porto, Poa, the Porto Alegre. He has a background. He used to be a soccer player when he was a kid. He played in a very famous soccer club in Brazil. Grêmio is actually like a 2 times world champion
Yes.
or one.
One time world champion, 3 times Libertadores champion.
Yeah, so it's a solid and very well known team. Um, he he has a background in all the areas on soccer, coaching, assistant coach, managing, and whatever. We're gonna go through all these stories then. But now he's in Australia and he's just like starting like a new project. So introduce a little bit more about you in Brazil.
Yeah, so I started in Brazil as a young kid playing as a hobby, right? And at the age of 6, I decided I wanted to be a professional football player. And I was too young to enter Grêmio or Inter's academy. They wanted it only with 7 years or 8 years, I'm not quite sure. And I remember that on my birthday, January 30th, I called Grêmio and Inter to join the academy. And I was there on exactly my birthday, so the first day that I could with 7 years, I started at Grêmio because it was in the alphabetical order on the phone book.
Ah, okay. Was the first thing that came up to you.
Yes, because at the time I used to say I was Grenal.
Ah.
So I would listen to the radio. The games would be like Grêmio's game and Inter games in the same radio station, and they would go from one to another. And I would support both of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
When I was 6,
Yeah.
right? And then when I was around, before I started playing for Grêmio, once I went to a Grenal, which is the biggest derby in Brazil, in the southern Brazil, right? And then my father said, no, you're going to go to the stadium, so you're going to have to choose between one or the other. And I remember I said, okay, then I was going with my grandpa, uncle, and a cousin, and I asked, what team do they support? He said, Grêmio. And then I said, okay, then I'm going to be Inter. Just to provoke, and then no, you're not understanding. You can't do that. It's a little bit different. So when I called, when I went to the phone book, for me it wouldn't make any difference. They were both good teams, big teams. But from the age of 7, I entered Grêmio, and from that day on,
Yeah, Grêmio became your heart team.
became a big part of my life.
Yeah, just for you guys that are listening to this, like if you're in Australia, Grenal or Grêmio and Inter is pretty much like the state of origin. You have like Queensland and New South Wales. So even the colors are similar, like the red and the blues.
Yeah.
And that's what he's saying. Like he was just like trying to provoke their relatives. So that's so fun.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a big rivalry, right? It's more than 100 years of history, more than 430 matches one against the other.
Yeah, it's
And they're
pretty
both
big. Yeah.
and they're both world champion. And it's in South America. We have Buenos Aires, Porto Alegre, São Paulo. Maybe Montevideo, yes, Montevideo also. The 4 cities that have world champion in the same city. And Porto Alegre is a 1.4 million people
Yeah, it's
city.
not
so,
many people. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So when you're born in Porto Alegre, as a baby, being a boy or a girl, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Someone will give you a Grêmio or an Inter t-shirt, and the relatives that are not from the same team are going to try to bring you to the other team, right?
Yeah, so all your childhood was like trying to choose which team was the better. And After that, like, what's your story? Like, you started how did you develop the? I heard that you were like, you love being a goalkeeper.
Yeah. So that happened like on the first day. Um, Everyone was sitting there, maybe 100 kids in different fields, whatever, and they would ask each one what position they would play. And I had never thought of that because I played at the street with friends, whatever, any position. And that's a very hard question for a 7-year-old, right?
Yeah,
What
to make a
position do you
decision.
play? It's kind of like when you're going to choose your career and you're 17, 18, you have no idea what you're going to do. Some lucky people know for the rest of their lives what they want to do. Others, they never stop to think about it. And
Yeah.
with a 7-year-old, what position do you play? I thought, oh, well, I'm not skilled enough to be a offensive player, a winger, a striker. So I said a keeper. And from that day on, I only played as a keeper in competitive elite level, right, at Grêmio. And I was fairly good. I went to Argentina for lots of tournaments, interstates. We won. Grêmio was always a big team in terms of academy. We had the best players from the States going there always, and Santa Catarina also. And then when you get into 15, 16, where I wasn't in the team anymore, you get players from all over Brazil trying
Yeah. To go to Grêmio.
to go to Grêmio. So I had a very good experience at Grêmio. We were 3 or 4 times state champion, and this was kind of heavy for my family because all the weekends were traveling to a different city, right? So I had it was like a big family in terms of the players and the parents, because we were together every single weekend, or
Yeah.
playing at home or traveling to a different city in the state, and the parents would go together when they could. When they couldn't, they would trust Grêmio, but especially the other parents that were going together. On the first time my parents went, on the second they didn't go to Argentina, for example. So I went to Argentina, spent maybe 2 or 3 weeks there. My parents were home, and I was 8, 9.
Yeah.
But because we would travel every single weekend, and we would travel every holidays for international tournaments, they could trust that we were well.
Yeah. So you reach like a pretty high level for a young age.
Yes,
As a goalkeeper.
As at the possibilities of the age, it was the highest level
The
possible.
highest possible. Yeah.
So the dream of becoming a goalkeeper and Grêmio goalkeeper was something that was very clear to me, and that was the only dream I had. It wasn't like, oh, I had lots of dreams. No, it was being Grêmio goalkeeper, and that was the only option, right? And when I got to the age of 12, all the other boys were 20, 30 centimeters higher than me.
Yeah, that's what up to ask you.
Yeah, and I was really short for the age, and on the age of 14, I was 162, 1.6 meters. And my brother was 17, 18, and he was 195.
Oh, my
But
God.
I was the sports guy, and he loved reading, watching TV, playing video games, whatever. Completely the opposite of me,
So,
and he
yeah.
was the high guy, right?
He took your height.
Yeah, but every time I would go to the training sessions, I would see the boys getting bigger and I staying behind, and then I would train more to compensate.
Yeah.
So I would train with our team, I would train with the keepers, the older keepers, and I would train, like if we had 3 or 4 sessions a week, I would do 5, maybe 6 a week to compensate in the height of my jump, and also on the response, right? My response timing. But there was a time that the coach called me and dismissed me because it was too.
Such a shame.
It is, but it's part of the process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know.
Especially in this position, height is a
And
big
how
thing.
old? 14. So
14.
You were like 14-year-old, a teenager. dealing with a kind of frustration of like not achieving what you dreamed, and probably like you put like around like 7 years of hard work on that, and then someone just say it's not you that quitting, it's someone like saying to you,
it's not gonna happen.
yeah, it's not gonna happen because of your height. You say, how did you do with that?
To be completely honest, I never got over that. Not today, because it was a big dream. My parents, I remember, at the age, it was something that it's not open, but it happened. Like I was suggested to take hormones and other supplements and things like that. Supplements I did. I remember I had those. Nasty biotônico fontora, you remember those? To make me eat more, but eating was not the problem. I developed later, but I ate everything and salads, whatever, just thinking I'm becoming a professional goalkeeper. But hormones was something that my parents never allowed. But it was something that if they asked me at the time, for sure I would have said yes, let's do it. Because the dream was so big, I wouldn't measure the consequences, let's do it. And I know of other kids that did do it and didn't get to professional anyway, So, but this was the intensity of the commitment of the dream, right?
Yeah.
As you know, in Brazil, being a professional footballer is not like... it's not even like being a rugby player here in Australia.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's much bigger, right? Yeah. You're a rock star. It's
like an NBA player.
It's like an NBA player in America, right? You're feeling a dream. It's nothing higher than that for a sports guy, right?
Yeah.
And in Australia, we know that kids have lots of different options of sports, of careers, right? And in Brazil, I was lucky because my family could support me with good studies. So sports was not the only option. But in my head, it was. In my head, that was the only option. So when I left, I tried different clubs, smaller clubs, because Inter could be an option, but I said, I'm not going to be higher at Pereira. Right, and the other, just crossing the city and going to the other stadium, I'm not gonna be any higher. The competitive level is the same, so I will try a smaller club and see if I grow in the next years. Because 14-year-old, somewhere around that, you're going to have a boom, right? But that didn't happen, and I got upset with I was training around 6 or 7 sessions a week, and then I went to 2 sessions a week. With coaches,
no structure.
The coaches weren't as qualified. The players weren't as qualified, and then I said, "No, this is the end of the road for me." I went to other sports. I went to tennis, handball, but more as a
practitioner.
Yeah, more as just for fun, recreational. But the competitive guy was always in me. So yes, even in handball, I went for international tournaments and. Tennis only state tournaments.
And how old were you when you realized that's enough, that's the end of the line in soccer for me?
16, 15.
Yeah, and normally like all the teenagers suffer with a little bit of social problems and anxiety and everything. And you were living like most of the teenagers that like very into sports and so early age. They start to get like a little bit away from the social life a little bit.
For sure.
And then with 15, you know, the way just like...
And then it all changed, right? Because I basically had no social life until 14, because every single weekend I would be playing, I would be traveling, and all of a sudden I had a lot of time for me, right? And then I went to other sports because it was what I knew what to do. But at Grêmio, I had my space. I had been there for 7 years, so I knew the stadium, I knew the people, I knew everyone. And it was something that brought me comfort, that brought me ego, right? I was playing in one of the biggest teams in the country. and then suddenly I go to a small club where I am one more kid,
Just one
right?
more,
Yeah, just trying to have a space, and then I said, no, this is not worth it. The club's not good enough for me, and I'm not good enough for the club, so
Yeah.
it's not working. So I went to different sports, but not with the dream of being a professional anymore. Just for the fun. I'm always, I was and am very active, right? I can't just stand still. So just stop and study wasn't an
I can
option.
imagine how like psychologically affected you were of.
Yeah.
So in the other sports, yeah, I'm not gonna give all my 100% anymore. I did that and it didn't work. So
Yeah, and the other sports like tennis and handball, they are sports that I also love and enjoy, but they are sports that you don't see a pathway in Brazil, right?
yeah, exactly.
There is no pathway, and that's the difference from Australia. If you're really good at something, you can become professional in almost any sport.
Yeah.
There is a pathway, right? And in Brazil, if it's not football, it's basically
Yeah.
very hard, and especially smaller sports, because maybe basketball and volleyball there is a pathway, and other than that,
Yeah.
no. Tennis, it's really, really, really hard.
I know this because I was a swim coach.
Yeah. So
Even though you do like produce results, everything, the money that is not there.
the money's not there
Yeah.
for sure.
So after that, all of this, so you end up like going to study physical education. Physical education in Brazil is similar as exercise science and sports science
Yes.
in Australia all together.
Yes.
It's like 4 years full time. And what brought you to physical education?
So at the age of 17, I had to decide what I wanted to do for my life, and I thought, my father's an engineer. I think engineering is a good career. I'll have a solid future. I'm good at math and all this kind of subject and science, physics I like. Okay, let's do engineering. After one semester, I realized I didn't want to become an engineer. I didn't want to work in an office, right? And then I went back to PE, which was always my second option, but I didn't want to admit my love for sports as a career, because again in Brazil, a PE teacher is not you don't have status, right? You
Yeah.
work a lot, you do what you love, but you usually don't get paid for it as
Yeah.
much as you should, right? And therefore I had this thought in my head, no, I'm not gonna do it, I can do better. You know, that's what was exactly what I thought. I can do better than that. But then after six months in the uni doing engineering, I thought, yeah, but is it worth it? Because my classmates in the first semester, they were getting good jobs at Dell and other technology companies, and I thought, okay, and then maybe in 2 more semesters, 1 semester I'll be working in a good company, getting a good salary, and then look back at my life at the age of 50, 60, and think, okay, I have a good money, good career, but what have I done with my life?
Yeah.
And I realized that with the age of 18, 17, and I thought, no, this is not what I want to do. So I quit and went to physical education, and as you said, it's together because it's licenciatura plena, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
So it's you can teach in schools, but you can also work at sports and science and be a coach, right? Fitness coach and all this. And then I started, and I just loved it. It was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
I always conducted the uni time more to coaching, more about people, less about research. I'm not a research guy. I don't like it.
Hands-on guy.
Hands-on guy. Yes, if it wasn't for a couple of close mates, I would still be in the uni. If they hadn't helped me, I would still be in the uni.
It takes forever. Like works good. Like and after that, like you just like went head on back to soccer. You start like
yeah, more or less, because during the uni I was teaching English as a second language in Brazil.
Cool.
So I had students from 5 to 50, 60-year-olds. So I had all ranges of levels and very, very, very beginners to more advanced students. And I did that for maybe 4 years because I didn't graduate in 4. I took a little bit longer. I did.
Everybody does.
Yeah, I did lots of internships, and this was a conscious decision because I could have. I had classmates that graduated in 3.5 years, so they really rushed it, but they wanted the more academic world, so it made sense for them.
Yeah.
And for me, I realized, okay, if I graduate in 4 or 5, it makes no difference. On the opposite, if I graduate in 4, I have less time for internships and to have build connections with the industry. And this was what happened because in the first 3 or 4 years, I was teaching English and going to classes. I remember I was one of the few people in class that had a car. I had a Beetle, Fusquinha, the old one, not the new Beetle.
Me too.
Yeah, the old Beetle. Yeah, and it was funny because I thought, oh, this old trashy car, but I was the only one of the few that had cars, so I was different.
Yeah. You're the one to carry people to the barbecues.
Yeah, but because I was teaching English, I had my own money with 18, 19, so I could get the car, and I taught English for maybe 3 or 4 years during uni. And it was very good money compared to what we would earn as a fitness coach or at the gym instructor, right? In Brazil, so I was earning maybe 17, 18 as an hour, where in the gym as an intern you would get 3, 4, less than the bus ticket maybe. So I was in the different levels, so I was pushing the idea to work with PE or as an intern in PE. But as I got to the end of the course, I had to make a decision. Oh, come on, I'm not going to graduate in PE. And what's your experiences? English as a second language teacher. No. So I started, I had to quit English, and I started with football, working for free. So I had this back down, right?
Non-paid.
Non-paid internship to start. So I was making good money, and then suddenly, okay, now I have to go to a non-paid internship because I have absolutely no experience in the industry, and I gotta have experience. So in the last year of uni, I started working for free in a club with a friend that opened the doors for me. And then after maybe 6 months, I was receiving a little bit, and so it grew, right? And I started working with football with under 17s, and it was good because it was a small club, but with some investors, and we were working. Our mission was to develop good players to Grêmio and Inter, and work almost as hard as they were. So we had under 17s training. Again, 7-8 sessions a week, with 2 or 3 days a week where they would have a session in the morning, have lunch at the club, and a session in the afternoon.
And of course, all the experience you had before helped you out because if you were back to the environment you were raised in.
Yeah, it's an environment I love. You know, this competitive culture of football. The way we speak, the way we think, I knew how to do that. I was at home at that environment, right? And also I was able to put what I was learning in the uni into action, right? It wasn't only empirical knowledge, but also the knowledge from the uni. So it all came together. I loved it, and I worked there for 3 years in the small club. We got to defeat Grêmio and Inter on under 17s.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, it is, because the difference of players, they got players from all other states in Brazil, right? If you played in Flamengo and you got dismissed, you're gonna try other big clubs. So we had Grêmio and Inter had players from all over Brazil. We had only basically local players and players that had been dismissed from Grêmio and Inter. So when we played them with a much bigger structure, money, bigger coaching teams, everything, right? They got Grêmio Inter for the academy. They have nutritionists, they have psychologists, they have everything, right? They have a pro structure for the under 15s and so on. So when we got to defeat them both, it was a great honor for us, and it proved that our work was being well done, right?
You were as assistant coach at
I
the
was
time.
assistant coach at the time and assistant fitness coach.
So doing the physical preparation of it.
Yes. But it wasn't my passion. My passion is more strategy, tactical and strategy, more people development, people managing, not really the fitness. But this to start, it was where I started. And then we had the chance to go to São Paulo to play Taça São Paulo, football juniors, which would be the biggest competition in Brazil for under 18s, right? So all the big teams and smaller teams with investors. So we partnered with Jacareí, Atlético Clube in Jacareí, which is just beside São José dos Campos, right? So we took our boys and we would mix with their boys on this partnership to make it happen, right? So I moved with this friend to São Paulo. It was tough.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we moved to São Paulo, to a very small town, not a very wealthy town. São José is really rich. Jacareí is not. It's the poor brother, right? So it wasn't the most beautiful city. We didn't have many things to do other than work, right? And so we left Porto Alegre for the first time at the age of 23 or something. And I had a different position because I was the assistant coach of the professionals and head coach of the under 20s. But I was also, this was when we started to invest on the team. So we started putting money on this team. We brought maybe 12 boys from Rio Grande do Sul. We stayed with 10 or 8. We stayed, the others came back to play Copa São Paulo. But in the end of the year, the city council and the team, they had an argument and we were left out of the competition. Basically, we were left out. So we had a 1-year investment for nothing. So I had the experience with the professionals, right? We sponsored the professionals. Some players played the professionals, but we couldn't trust and things got bad. We broke up with the club, and then my friend and I thought, okay, we are here in São Paulo, we have the experience, we have some connections, why don't we go to São Paulo? And then we moved to Santo André, just beside São Paulo, to start the sporting agency where we would take care of careers. Basically what we were doing outside the field, we would focus on that with no club involvement.
Yeah, we pretty much became talented seekers.
Yes, a scout and an agent, because we would look for talent, take the guy from one club to a bigger club, to a better opportunity. But in Brazil, this is not the only thing. You gotta support the family. You gotta see if he's studying. You gotta see if he has the gears, the materials. It's a different level. Like when we're talking here to Aussies, they
don't understand.
They don't understand. We're talking about really talented kids who don't have the money for a new boot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To go to practice.
I was trying to explain this. In Brazil, doesn't matter. Soccer, of course, because it's where the bigger demand is. The kids doesn't have you have kids, they don't understand the difference of wealth. So we have kids that doesn't have money to eat 3 times a day.
Exactly.
So when you do this kind of stuff, when being a manager of young athletes and everything, you have to look after them not only as an athlete, you have to look after pretty much like a godfather.
Exactly. You are a godfather, and when you're a godfather of 10, 12 kids, it's heavy on your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So you are investing on these kids
And responsibility.
and lots of responsibilities. So we basically, our business model was getting boys from Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, and taking them to São Paulo. Some kids we managed to have some trials and Grêmio Inter, but never really happened. But we got onto other teams of São Paulo, like Portuguesa. We took some players that stayed at Barueri and things like that. So we were always watching games because that's the networking. We were watching lots of under 17, under 18s of São Paulo, different divisions, Rio. So everywhere between Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, Minas, Paraná, Rio Grande do Sul, and Santa Catarina. We were there by car, traveling, backpacking, and scouting players, right? And then you get to know the agents, the network, yes. And this went well for like 3 years. The business was growing. We managed to get players in Europe.
Yeah, that's what I have to ask. Like then is when it started all your international career.
Yeah, what happened was we got some trials in FC Senica, which is in Slovakia, in the city of Senica. Yeah, Slovakia. It's a 20,000 people city, 1 hour drive from Bratislava. So it was the time that we took players that had never been outside of Brazil, maybe to Argentina, some, and they went to Slovakia. Super cold, going through in January. Super cold.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Going by Austria, passing through Paris. So we had a really good experience.
Nice. And I can imagine all the expectation from the kids and parents, because most of them doesn't have like any money to do that, and some of them like put all the coins on the kids to provide the family.
Exactly. So like it was very good expectation, big expectations from the family, from the friends, and from the kid, right? Some were really, really, really poor, extremely poor. Some were not, but they all had in common the dream of becoming a professional player. And when 2 of them played first league Slovakia, it was like a dream come true for our company, for them, and it was really nice. It was really nice being there, watching first division in Slovakia, second place team,
nice.
And having our players there, right? It was a good experience. We had players doing trials in the Emirates, also a completely different experience. This was when I had like a thought, and I messaged my parents to thank them, because what am I doing? I have 5 underage kids, 17-year-old kids that can barely speak English, that can barely speak Portuguese, some of them, right? And they were in the Emirates. To get in the country, we had iScan 15 years ago. So it was a completely different culture, where we got to meet. I watched the training session, drinking tea with the sheikh. And we would talk. So I asked if he would be willing to go to Brazil and get to. He said, no, it's too far away. He had everything over there, right? He was a sheikh there.
Everything's serving him there.
So it was a really nice experience. But in the end of the day, we worked a lot and made little money, right? And we were investing on these kids for 3-4 years. And then some things happened where one of the kids that we invested for 2 or 3 years wouldn't return our calls. He was probably going to sign with someone else, right? And it's like when you're planting something, you're taking care, where it's time to harvest and get the results.
Someone took it.
Right? And this happened.
So frustrating. One more frustration.
One more. And this happened with one. This happened with a professional player that we signed when he was in the second division of Rio Grande do Sul. We signed him because we knew he was the best player on the team, and the team would be promoted, and he would play against the big teams in Rio Grande do Sul, and he would do well. We signed him in the beginning of the season. He started with the talk that his cousin was also an agent, and then we discovered he had signed with the other 3 agents like
At the
4
same time.
4 months later. He saw that he would be doing well, so he signed with 4 other agents, and he signed with Sport Recife afterwards, and we were left with nothing, so we had a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And then this was another frustration because I talked to big teams. We would develop his all the DVDs and things like that, and doing the material, right? Creating content from him, taking to Europe, taking his material to the Emirates and big teams. And I would talk face to face with the head of Grêmio for a professional, and realizing that someone else had talked to him about that player, you know, so you feel like stupid, right? So
yeah, they make you like a fool at the end of the day.
So that happened. So that was another frustration. That was when my father called. Oh, I have the opportunity for you. There's a real estate place, very good located, that we can do a pet shop. And that was my way. That was my father's way to bring me back to Porto Alegre, close to him. And I didn't realize that at the moment.
They just used the opportunity to get you closer.
He did. And I love challenges, and that was a completely new challenge. And I said,
what kind of business it was?
It was a pet shop.
Okay.
A pet shop. So
completely different.
Completely
Getting
different.
out of competitions, games, travels.
So
now you're gonna take care of pets.
Yes. So I took the challenge. I started developing the business. My father wasn't part of the business. It was me and another partner, associate partner, and we started developing luxury pet shop because of the location. We agreed that it couldn't be just one more pet shop. There had to be something different. So we developed as a very luxury pet shop where we would have people being treated by their names. Every single client would have this personalized treatment, right? Reception, and so would their pet. So that was really nice. But because I was all in the pet shop, the soccer business started to
fall apart.
To fall apart because I was like the heart of the company, and my partner was the brains. Like he was the tough guy who'd make decisions to put the boys in line, right? Organize. And I was the guy who would, the good cop and the bad cop. I was the good cop.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would be the one that would make them laugh, to be like a father, like a godfather, and he would be the one who would be strict when needed to be strict. But because he was in São Paulo and I was in Porto Alegre, it was only the bad cop, and the relation with the players wasn't as good. We had this 2 or 3 big upsetments with the players and disillusions, and then why are we doing this? And we realized that we had to stop, basically because we wouldn't be the people that we needed to be to succeed in that world.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
To succeed, you gotta be
you're gonna have contacts.
Yes,
unfortunately.
yes, and you gotta be sorry for the word, but you gotta do things that wasn't according to my values.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I know how it is.
If you don't,
Many in Brazil.
yeah, if you don't walk over other people, you won't survive. And people were walking over us, and or we would change the way we were, or we wouldn't succeed in the business.
And this is completely our philosophy of life. So
exactly. So
why
I'm
are
not
we gonna
gonna.
do that?
This is not me. I'm not gonna become this person that to make money again. Like the same decision I did in engineering, right?
Yeah.
This is my philosophy. This is what I want. And then I thought, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to become this person that is a bitch. So I, right? But just to make money. This is not me.
Yeah.
So I went to this pet shop business.
How long did you run the?
7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like one more time, if not from Brazil, you don't understand how tough it is to be a small business owner in Brazil. Like a lot of liabilities and people trying to take advantage of you, and always the owner of the business is the guy that's being chased for everybody.
Yeah, like in Brazil, sometimes we have the perception that, and I had the perception that a business owner is someone who's trying to take advantage of the employees, and usually
It's the opposite.
it's the other way around, because the business owner usually works more than the employees, is at risk because his money is in stake, his time is in stake, his name is in stake,
Yeah.
right? And everything is organized in the labor law in Brazil to protect the employee, and
Yeah.
nothing is organized to protect the business owner, and that's why it's so hard. And we say that maybe 1% of the business in Brazil lasts more than five years, and it is really hard, right? You gotta put a lot of effort, you gotta put a lot of money, a lot of time, and in the end of the day, maybe you pay the bills and that's it,
Yeah.
right? So after 7 years, I learned a lot, because I went into a new business that I had no knowledge. I didn't know anything about pets. I had my own dog, but that's different. That's different. I had to learn how to work with vets. I had to learn how to work with groomers. The business got big. We got to have 17 employees.
Oh my gosh.
And interns and vets and whatever. So it was a big business. We got a second store at the beach. So we had a summer store and the year-round store. But it was really time consuming. I was all in all the time. We had grooming, we had the store, we had vets, we had hotel. So it was we wanted to give the full experience. So whatever the customer needed, we would solve it. So we had everything. We didn't have a hospital, but we had partnerships with other hospitals. So that was it. But small surgeries we would do. We wouldn't have big surgeries like
big structure to take over. Yeah.
Big structure. So there was a lot of knowledge,
Learned.
lots of learning in that process, right? But as I said, because of the big structure, it was 24/7. I would work 24/7 because at night the hotel was working. We had interns there taking care of the pets, and
holidays.
so, the holidays, yes, on Christmas, New Year's Eve. I spent at least 2 New Year's Eve where I celebrated New Year's Eve inside the store with my wife.
No good, no good.
No good. But I was able to convince her to stay inside the store, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Because we had no one else people canceled, and I had like the hotel booked, fully booked. What can I do if the person canceled? I have to be there, right? So I was there with my wife, and I did this many times. Like I would put my personal life in second place for the business, and this is something that only the owners do, right?
But then, like after that, like you start to, you had like some episode that just clicked, and you start to think, okay, I maybe could go overseas again.
Yeah, what happened was I was getting, there is so much that you can take, right? There is only so much you can take. So I went into the 7th year and I was completely burned out. I was stressed. I was thinking of what's the point, you know? I was working a lot. The business was good for the customer, good for the pets, but not good for me.
Yeah, one more time, like you said, when you did the engineer, that was not what I want for my life.
Yeah.
Same with the philosophy with the soccer.
Yes.
And now
the pet shop. But it took me 7 years to realize that. Like when we are talking here, you think, "Oh, he's so conscious." No, it took me 7 years to realize that.
Realize that you get that dragged inside the business.
And it was funny because I was married. My wife met me before the pet shop was really open, so she was part of the whole process.
Poor girl.
Poor girl, and
I'm joking.
no, but it was hard for her because imagine you've been married to someone who doesn't have weekends. So
my wife knows good.
Yeah, it doesn't have weekend,
joking.
but I didn't have. I would work at the pet shop from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. So it was 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't get home and say, "Oh, let's go out for dinner." No,
Yeah,
you just die in bed, right?
Yeah.
And Saturdays that she would be like, okay, she's an architect, so she worked during week, Monday to Friday and free weekends. And I would never be willing to go out with the friends, whatever, because I would go because I had the energy, but I would be exhausted, right? And it was not once or twice that she was, "Okay, I'm gonna take a shower," and then we go. And when she got out of the shower, I was sleeping with the same clothes.
Gone.
Yeah, completely gone, just sleeping with the same clothes I came from work the whole day. Because it is intense.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a pet shop in a weekend, we're talking about doing 70, 80 baths a day.
Gosh.
So it's dog that's never over, right? When you finish, it's really, really busy. And it's physical, it's intense because you have 80 dogs, okay, but you want to deliver the best experience for the customer. So if he said he wanted a pon or whatever red and someone put a blue, you have to watch out every single detail.
Yes.
And when you're talking to luxury, this is really, really important. Like there was a client that didn't like a specific perfume. We had around 6 or 7 different perfumes per dog, or that could be for male or female. And there was a client that would always complain, "Sorry, I don't want to bother, but I don't like when you put this perfume." And I would go there and check. So this kind of thing we would have to check. But why? And then why she didn't like the perfume was interesting because it was the perfume that would remind her of her late grandfather who had passed away in a few months ago.
Yeah.
So everything there's a reason. It is important, right? So you could say, "Nah, it's just the perfume."
I don't have time for you.
I didn't have any time for me. So it was really stressful because I would be on standby and on the watch every time. And if someone didn't go to wash, I would wash. If the driver didn't go, I would drive. If the person in the
When did you realize that that's enough?
When I was getting angry with the pets.
Yeah.
Because
you're not enjoying that anymore.
No. What happened was when during the summer, people would go. Porto Alegre is not a coast city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people would go. Our clients would basically go to the coast on their summer houses, and we had the great idea of creating a store at the coast in a different city for the summer. So the time that we would have a little bit of time to breathe, we went for a second store. So it was even more intense. So we were working not 100%, we were working 110%. And I completely burned out. One day I was helping wash a dog, and he bit me.
Okay.
And this happens almost every day, right? And the dog got scared and he bit me. And my reaction was to get so angry. I thought I didn't do anything, of course, but I thought of it. And then stop there.
I'm crossing the line. Yeah.
I'm crossing the line. That's not me. It's too much. It's too much. And then I talked to my partner. I took like 1 month out, rethought my life, what I wanted for me, because it wasn't like 50-50 work and personal it was 95.5.
I know.
So it was too much. And then I said, okay, let's do like this. We'll try 6 months. I'll be try to be more reasonable, like have more personal life. We'll organize it better, and let's see if the numbers of the company also turn
Build up.
around. Yeah, build up. After 6 months, it didn't. We did more like my partner wanted to do, but the result wasn't much different. And then I said, okay, it's enough for me. I want to sell, and I did. And then
you sold the whole business.
I sold the whole business. What did we do then? Then I had time for me. Then I had the time to think, what do I want to do with my life? And then one of the things I thought was, I always wanted to live abroad. And my wife said, you never said that. Of course not. I was always working.
I didn't have time to think of it.
Yeah, I didn't have time to think of what I wanted for me. I always had to, what was best for the business, what's best for the business.
Yeah.
So I started planting this idea of living abroad. One day, it was my wife's birthday, and her former business partner and best friend from the uni and from life called her here from Australia and Brisbane, and she said, why don't you come here, why don't you move here now that you sold the pet shop? And I thought, why not, right? Australia is great weather, great culture, great place to work, great place to restart. And I was in a period of my life, a point in my life where I would restart, right?
Yeah.
And it would be much better to restart in Australia than restarting back in Brazil. So we started planning this, and we planned this moving to Australia for 1.5 years. It wasn't something that we just came. No, I interviewed 20 friends that were here, or friends of friends, and whoever we knew. We made a structured interview with 20 questions, right? I created.
So organized.
Yes, it was because my wife is really methodic, and I had to sell her the idea. So if I didn't do a proper job, she wouldn't come. She had, and she still has her own business in Brazil, her architect studio. So why would she leave? I wanted to start over. She didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Why would she leave her company that it was doing quite well to come to Australia? So it had to be something better for her, a development, right? An improvement in her career and lifestyle. So I did this interview where I would ask people like, how was living in Australia? How much did they make? What was the cost? How were Brazilians seen in Australia? So I asked everything, right? How was the industry to get jobs, things, everything I asked. And she had one question about dangerous animals. Because whenever you're
much National Geographic.
Yes, it's what we in Brazil listen, right? Internationals. What do you hear about Australia? The top 10 most dangerous animals in the world, whatever, right? And she would ask about. Always in the end of the interview, I would ask, okay, now Nanda has a question, and she would ask about spiders, about snakes and whatever, and they would say, no, here in Sydney you have cockroaches. Oh, in the summer you have cockroaches, and she was like, oh, and I said, come on, Nanda. On the last 3 years we were hand robbed 6 times. Are you afraid of cockroaches? Yes. So for her, the big decision was safety. For me, it was financially, and I just wanted to get rid of that situation, right? So this was the decision.
And in the end of the day, you end up using the opportunity. I don't know if you use the opportunity, but you end up going back to the sports side.
Yes.
So you came here to study the master's degree in sports management.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
where you are now.
So we were coming here to Australia, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna restart my life. What do I like to do? I love sports. It's time for me to come back to sport, right? So this was something that I started seeing a shrink, a psychiatrist, and okay, you gotta admit you like it. Okay, go back to it. This is what you love. Do it. So I was, because it's what I wanted to do, but I would never admit
It's
to myself,
stated.
right? Yeah, it's stated. So okay, in Australia, I'm gonna do that. That's what I want to do. So choosing the place, we had a visa situation where, okay, how are we going to go? The plan A was to have the visa right away from Brazil, right? We were trying to get enough points to get the skilled visa, but we ran short of points. So the strategy was, okay, plan B. We had plan B, C, D, and F. But B was, okay, let's go. As a student visa, I take a master's. My wife is able to
Work.
full time as an architect, because we would apply for the skill visa on her profile, right? She would be the skilled visa, I would be the student visa, so she could work full time, work in her area, and in a short period of time apply for the regional skill visa. At first we didn't think of the regional, but then when we saw that Gold Coast was regional would give after points, this was where we made the decision, because going back to study sports, I looked up something in Brisbane, which was the Masters of Coaching, but it was basically online, so that doesn't give you the visa.
The visa,
And there were two in Melbourne of sports management and at Bond, and then the decision was my wife's, right? Yeah, because okay,
always
is
the last word.
It's hers,
from the
right?
boss.
Yes. So she had the chance. I said, okay, I want to do this. I think Melbourne will have much more working opportunities for you and for me. It's a big city, it's beautiful, but when we came in 2018, we came for a test drive, a 20-day test drive, where we went to Melbourne, we went to Sydney, we came to Brisbane, we came to the coast, we came to Sunshine Coast. We weren't on holidays, but we were assessing, exactly. And Melbourne, it rained every single day. So she said, I'm not coming to Melbourne. I don't like Melbourne. It's cold. It was like, here it was 28 degrees, and in Melbourne it was 13. In Melbourne it was rainy. Here it was sunny. And then she said, when we get to the time to decide, why are we going to Melbourne? We have that nasty weather, and we can have a perfect weather at the Gold Coast, right? And it would be a 1-hour drive from Brisbane, where her best friend in the world was living.
Beautiful.
So that was something that I thought to myself, yeah, Nanda is the person who never lived abroad, right? So she's having the first experience of her life living outside Porto Alegre. And if someone is going to back down and want to go back home, it would be her. So having this friend really close, family, would be something that would bond her to Australia.
You trace the perfect plan.
Yeah, the plan was all there, because I could like be strict and say, no, let's go to Melbourne because this is the best opportunity, and maybe in 1 year we would be back in Brazil, because I was stubborn, right? So to make it it is a long-term plan, right? So it had to be something that she would feel comfortable, she would feel as Australia being her home. And as I had traveled more, had more experiences outside of Porto Alegre, and lived in some bad situations, I knew here I would just love, right? And this was exactly what happened. We came here and it all flew back.
Fall in love,
Yeah, it was really good.
And now let's go to the main part and subject of the podcast. So now you are just getting together with a community, and you just organize everything, and one more time the entrepreneurship focus and spirit you have is just building up. So you're just building up together. Now Alex is just is the pilot of a new project. That's the beach tennis. He's just starting to build up a new association, and it's impressive. Even myself and my wife, we love the beach tennis and all the environment and everything. So how this came up on your table?
So what happened was, before coming here, I made a promise to my wife: 2 years without any business. I would be an employee for 2 years. That was my promise to her. It took me 5 months to break that promise. So
This is it. I'm just like you, man.
yeah.
We're in the same team.
So what happened was, I got here in January 10th, in January 13th of this year, right? In January 13th, I started at Bond. I joined the football team as a player. 2 weeks later, I was enrolling for the coach. 3 weeks later, I was the coach for Bond Soccer. And I was doing the classes. It was all good. Getting to know the country, getting to know the language, because one thing is to speak English in Brazil. It's completely different to live in English and live in Australian English, right? We come from a more American English, and getting to know all the different terms and different culture is different, right? Living from a Latin country to an Anglo-Saxonic country like an English country is different. Right, so getting to know everything, and then the pandemic hit hard. So I ended the first term in uni by online classes, and then I went on holidays online with the full lockdown, right? And I thought, for the first day, what am I gonna do? The second day, what am I gonna do? And I was like, at the time, what could we, in full lockdown, what was working? Only supermarkets were hiring, because I wanted to work to make some money, right? And to spend the time. Only supermarkets, cleaning, some cleaning, aged care, and Uber Eats. The 4 things that were basically hiring. And Uber Eats, because it was the easiest. Everyone was doing, like all the international students were doing Uber Eats, and it was paying maybe like $4 an hour, because there were so many people doing it. And the other places, they weren't hiring, or they needed qualifications that I didn't have. So I spent maybe 2-3 days applying for 300, 400 different jobs, not receiving anything, and realizing that I wouldn't go anywhere, because like, oh, Woolies is hiring. 4,000 people applied. Well, right? So at that time I thought, okay, I can do better with my time. With all this experience I have, I can at least plan something to use it in the future, instead of being at the street with a bike and working for $4 an hour, right? $6 an hour, because I wouldn't get many calls at Uber. So I thought, okay, what can I do? And beach tennis was in the back of my head for maybe 2-3 years plan. It would be a part-time thing, a side thing that would happen naturally. Because of COVID, let's start planning this. How would it work? And then I started drawing the business plan, organizing, and I'm really active. So from planning to action, super fast. So whenever the lockdown started to, after some months or some weeks, it started to, okay, now we're going to leave 1 hour walk per day. Now we're gonna have individual sports that are allowed at the beach. Tennis got back. When tennis got back, I said, okay, it's time for beach tennis to work. So we had, when tennis got back one-on-one singles, I started developing beach tennis with single free lessons. So one-on-ones, free lessons, and then free social games. So I started for 2 months working for free with beach tennis, just to develop the culture, develop the sport, to spread the word, right? So this is how we started. And now we are lucky to have around 100 people on the WhatsApp group,
Oh, that's good.
and at least 50 different people coming every single weekend on Saturdays or Sundays to play beach tennis.
Yeah, and I can see the people's getting passionate to it. It's
Yeah.
something that's not coming. It's not a seasonal stuff.
No.
It's something that's coming to stay. So
Yeah, because
you did
beach
a great
tennis
job.
is beach tennis has some good features. Like it's very easy to learn. If you compare it to tennis you need at least 6 months or 1 year of lessons to get any good level of the game. Otherwise, you're just picking the balls at the net or in the fence, right? I call it's busco ball and not tennis, right?
Yeah, true.
You're just going after the ball and you don't have rallies. When you go to beach tennis, in 15 minutes you can start having a rally, even if you never played tennis,
Yeah.
right? It's soft on your knees, it's on sand. You have a beautiful environment. It's not inside a club, it's at the beach, right? It's a more relaxed space. It's not that culture from tennis like complete silence. You can have music, you can have people chatting. It's a more relaxed and laid back environment, right? And it's all aged, all
Yeah.
ages, right? We have people that are 6, 7 playing, kids from from some players, and we have 70 plus aged players. So
Yeah.
it's different and it's good. It's at the
Yeah.
beach, right?
At
So
the beach, like you can go play tennis while your husband is surfing.
exactly, like your case, right? So, and the idea is because Gold Coast is such a place for international people, international students, and people come here from all over Australia and all over the world. Beach tennis is kind of like a community there that's open to everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like some other sports that you see that are really only for Aussies
Aussies.
or only
Only
for
for-
Brazilians or only for whatever. Like we want to create a culture, and this is something that I'm really am passionate about, and I'm really enthusiastic. Is it cannot be a sport for Brazilians or for international. It has to be a sport for everyone, multicultural. So I don't allow to be having Portuguese music all the time, so it cannot be. I don't allow we speaking Portuguese all the time. English is the
Main language.
it's the only language, the main language. Only if we have like a class where there are only Brazilians and I'm the coach, okay, we don't have to speak English at this moment. But whenever one Aussie comes or of any other culture comes, we gotta switch to English, otherwise he'll be left out. And then when he's left out, he'll not come again. And
Yeah.
then we're gonna have this Brazilian only culture. Then this is something that I don't want.
And what are the plans for the future with the beach tennis now?
So
Is this your main project at the moment?
yes. So there
Apart
are,
from the uni, you're
Yeah.
gonna finish.
so there are 3 main projects in my life at the moment. So there's the uni, right? I'm going for the last year. There is football, right? So I'm the coach at Bond. I'm coaching after schools programs on the Magic Group. At the
Nice.
moment, I'm taking the C license to develop as a coach here in Australia.
Mhm.
And beach tennis. So the 3 things. So coaching, I'm doing the courses and I'm working on expanding hours and grow on this career. On the other hand, I'm working on beach tennis and we are organizing the association. So it won't be my thing, right? My sport. I don't want to be the owner of the sport. And this I was always very clear to everyone. So if you want to get a net and build up your thing, please do. The more nets we have in the Gold Coast, the
Yeah.
better. The more groups we have of beach tennis.
Develop the practitioners, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not worrying about having a monopoly of the sport. You know, I don't want to be the owner of the sport. I want it to develop. So the idea is to develop the sports. We gotta go work on grassroots. We gotta work on tournaments, right? We gotta go into schools program. 4 or 5 different things that we gotta do, and that we're doing. For example, one of them is creating a national circuit, because beach tennis in Australia started with Paul in Melbourne, but I don't think he's working anymore. He's an Aussie, but he stopped. And then we have Luciano in Sydney, Chris from Chile also in Sydney, and Tuku in Perth. Luciano and Tuco, two Brazilians from Porto Alegre and from Grêmio. So we have a very close
The
relationship.
Grêmio community too. there.
Yes. So we talk about barbecue, we talk about chimarrão, we talk about football, and we talk about beach tennis. So the idea is to organize a national circuit where we'll have a national ranking, and we'll interact from different communities. So the beach tennis community in Sydney will come to the Gold Coast for tournaments. We'll go to Perth for tournaments, and our community will go to Perth and Sydney.
Yeah.
So this is the idea of doing a circuit where we can have bigger sponsors, when their sports can grow, and the people can bond even more because they're traveling together, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this is something really
Yeah,
nice.
I think you have the perfect plan for this, and I think it's the right sport at the right time. It's building up, and Australia is really good country for this type of thing. Like if you do something like very organized, and they see that's really good, mainly involving sports, you're gonna thrive for sure.
That's why we are now doing the association, because for the first 6 months it has been me working on the sport, an international student. How long is he gonna stay here? He's Brazilian. He's not a. I don't have yet my skilled visa. We applied for it 6 months ago now, so it should arrive anytime. But I'm not citizen.
Yeah.
So having an association backs the project up, right? So having Aussies on the board, organizing, having people from all over the world helping him. He's French, so we have 17 nationalities on our group.
That's good.
And having an association is easier to get to the city council to present the sport, so that they know that people will deliver what we're promising of a tournament. It's not something that's gonna they wanna do this, but in 2 or 3 months they're not here anymore. Whenever COVID is over, they're not here anymore. No, we're here to stay and to do a long-term project, right? So the association is being organized. We have a board, we have an executive board, and we are organizing a tournament for April, May. It's supposed to be a fairly big tournament for 100, maybe 200 people.
Beautiful.
Right, where we want to showcase the sport, and this we want to put some money into it with sponsors, with fundraisings, whatever we need to do, because we want to showcase the best way possible. Even if it's not the biggest tournament in crowd in Australia, we want to make it look the best.
Yes.
Fake it before you make it. So if we have a really good broadcasting, really good filming material, when we publish it, it's gonna be something that people from Brazil, from all over the world want to come to Australia.
Building up the portfolio, pretty much.
Exactly. Exactly. Building this portfolio where we can go to new sponsors, where we could go to city council and destinations, and making people from abroad wanting to come here. And this is something that the city council wants. How many tourists are gonna bring? How many people are gonna sleep over here? What is the income that the event will come? So we are tying it up to make a good sport.
I can see a bright future there. I hope we can see like this building up pretty fast, what it's happening now, and mainly with the boards getting open now. This is the I think it's going to be very good, and I mean, as I say, it looks like a very fun, and everybody that looks and go there get into it. Okay, but that's it. This was Alex. We just brought this. We're probably gonna have another episode pretty soon. Now he's gonna be like a masters, a permanent resident, and probably like with the beach tennis like blowing out in Australia.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming, Alex.
Thank you.
If you have to consider anything else in the end, just how people can reach you and everything.
Thank you for listening to us, guys. You can find Beach Tennis Gold Coast on Instagram, on Facebook, right? And if you are here in the Gold Coast, come meet us at Surfers or Burley. And if you ever come to visit, feel free to come and play.
Yeah, we're gonna have all the details on the information of the podcast, guys. This was Solid Sport by Solid People one more time with Alex. the beach tennis and the sports person.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Valeu, Alex.
Valeu.
Bom